Stand by. Stand by.
What's up everyone, Alpha Mike here. I wanted to do another video on my Beretta 92x Performance that I use in the carry optics division of USPSA and Steel Challenge. When doing the other videos on my other Beretta 92s, I got quite a few comments and messages asking to make a video on what I've done to this Beretta 92x Performance. And so I wanted to go over all the parts and what all I have done. It's definitely not an exhausted list. Not everything is absolutely needed, but there are a few things that you definitely would want to invest in order to get the best bang for your buck. Now, there is a whole lot better aftermarket information out there for other platforms, such as the CZ Shadow 2, etc. With the Beretta 92x Performance, it was kind of a lot of trial and error. I even had to watch videos in Italian to figure out how to install certain parts. So definitely keep that in mind. You're not going to get as much aftermarket information as some of the other platforms. So first and foremost, this is a combination of two guns, really. It's the Beretta 92x Performance defensive slide on the Beretta 92x Performance frame. Beretta did announce a Beretta 92x Performance production optics model, which is essentially how you see this gun here. It's going to be a railed, heavier frame on top of the a slide that is cut for their RDO platform, which is similar to how the defensive and the other 92 platforms are cut. So keep that in mind. I have been told by people who work at Beretta that it should be actually released in the US sometime in September, but definitely don't take my word for it. You know, sometimes it can take a while for it to actually get here in the States. Okay, so I'm just gonna go top to bottom, go over the parts that I put into this gun. Again, not everything is absolutely needed. I'll let you know what is most important and, you know, things that will just kind of help the performance but aren't necessary. So first off, so going to the top, I have a RTS2, Seymour RTS2 on this gun. You can use whatever optic you want. I just found that this optic works really well for me. But most importantly, what I changed is the optics plate. Beretta has their own red dot base kit you can buy from their store. It's about $25. You should get one free if you buy the defensive model or any of the RDO platforms. However, the problem with this you will find is, for one thing, it's a really thick metal. For another, it sits the optic very far forward. When I was using this one, I was using a Trijicon SRO, and it was so far forward that the brass was catching on the optic and inducing malfunctions around, you know, 1 in every 50 to 100. And it was getting really aggravating, and it just was not working out. And I've spoken to quite a few people, and the same thing was happening with them, even with optics that don't, you know, have the lens sticking out further. I know people who are using this exact optic and they were still getting the induced malfunction. So Beretta really needs to change that in order to have the optic sit further back. This optics plate is by Toni Systems. They're a company out of Italy. So it can be a little difficult to get their parts, but I highly recommend it. Another thing is the way that the optic is or functions. It has many different holes, and you can use multiple different optics on it. But most importantly, it's really thin, it's really high quality, and it sits the optic further back so that you're not going to have any induced malfunctions when the brass is ejecting, which is a huge issue with the Beretta. So I would say that is something that is absolutely needed if you are going to get the Beretta 92x Performance Defensive or any RDO platform. I've had no issues with it. It hasn't come loose on me or anything. There is fitting that you will have to do in order to get it to fit flush. They have really, really tight tolerances. Keep in mind, even with the Toni Systems optics plate, you are still going to have a higher than normal sight over bore. That is just the nature of the 92 platform and the way that Beretta has done their RDO cuts. It's going to be much lower with other platforms. One option you could spring for is the Elite LTT by Langdon Tactical. Ernest Langdon has actually been able to reconfigure the parts and get the optic much lower by cutting into the slide deeper. You can see here it's much lower than the 92x Performance. Keep in mind that this Elite LTT model is much lighter than the 92x Performance. So if you are looking for a gun for competition and want something that is heavier, then the 92x Performance is the way to go. Moving on, there are a few parts that I would say greatly improve the performance of the gun but aren't absolutely necessary. Starting with the cheapest is changing out the hammer spring. I have changed it out to a 11-pound hammer spring by Langdon Tactical. I have found that the 11-pound hammer spring is the perfect combination of being very light and also setting off all the primers that I've used. I've used many different types of factory ammo. And then for my reloads, I use CCI small pistol as well as CCI small rifle and CCI small pistol magnum primers and have had no issues. I have tried a 10-pound hammer spring and have run into light strikes with CCI primers. I'm sure if you just use Federal primers, you wouldn't have any issues whatsoever. And then moving on, the two next parts are going to be the Optimized Performance Trigger Bar by Langdon Tactical. What that does is greatly improve the reset. You can see here with the hammer bar, or I'm sorry, the trigger bar installed, the reset is very short and crisp. The next part is the Beretta match hammer. You can get this on the Beretta website or from Langdon Tactical. What that does is greatly reduce the pre-travel to the wall in single action. You can see here, that's the amount of pre-travel. You hit a very crisp wall, really clean break, and then really short reset. I'll show you what it looks like when you get a 92x Performance stock. This is the 92x Performance Defensive. You can see here that the pre-travel is much longer than with the trigger bar installed. So those two parts in combination with a lighter hammer spring will get the single action right at around 3 pounds to 2.5 pounds, and then the double action to around 5.5 to 6 pounds. I'll demonstrate that here. So we'll start in double action. So that's right, a little over 6 pounds. Try it again. And right at 6 pounds. Now there's a little bit of a glare. So, and then in single action, little right at 3 pounds, and then again, a little under 3 pounds. So more importantly than the weight, at least for me personally, is that the reset shortens up and the pre-travel shortens up. I don't care so much about the trigger weight, especially when it's between 2.5 pounds to 3 pounds or 2.5 to 2 pounds. What's most important to me is a short pre-travel to the wall, a really clean and crisp break, and then a really short reset. That's why I really like this platform, because in combination with those parts, I find that That improves the performance a lot. Keep in mind that you don't need to get all these parts or, you know, change too much about your gun. I would say the only thing that would be absolutely needed if you were going to go with this platform here is changing the optics plate to a Toni Systems plate rather than the Beretta red dot base kit that they sell, just because it'll eliminate any malfunctions you're going to get from the brass catching the optic. So other than that, I haven't changed any other parts. I have done some polishing on the internals. That's not something that's absolutely necessary. I haven't noticed a huge difference with doing that. If you are looking to go this route and get a 92X Performance to compete in Carry Optics division, I would definitely say either wait until Beretta comes out with their production optics ready version rather than having to buy two guns and configure it like I have. In hindsight, if I had known that they were going to come out with it, I might have waited. I probably wouldn't have waited, but it would have been nice, at least for my backups, to get the production optics ready model when it's configured like this. So another option is you can get the Beretta 92X Performance from Langdon Tactical. They will do the trigger job, which includes the optimized performance trigger bar, as well as some of the polishing of the internals and a reduced weight hammer spring. You'll get it, and it'll basically be set up just how it does when you get it stock, but they will change out the parts, do a trigger job, and you'll get right around the same weights for the trigger, about 2.5 to 3 pounds in single action and 5.5 to 6 pounds in double action. It's super crisp and clean. I'd say out of the box, it was actually the trigger was a little bit nicer than when I had done everything on mine, but it's not a huge difference. You can also buy the match hammer from their website and they will install it for you, which I would definitely recommend because it was a real pain to install the match hammer myself. I marred the roll pins and had to get some new ones from Beretta, and it was a mess. The cost when I bought it was $14.75 with the trigger job, and then an extra $45 for the match hammer spring, which and then I also got an extra hammer spring as well. So with the match hammer spring and the trigger job, I was looking at about $1,536. So I would definitely look into doing that if you want to get the standard 92X Performance, or wait until the 92X Performance optics ready version comes in stock. I've been told that should be in September. So all in all, if you liked this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer all the questions that come in. And if you have any ideas for future videos, put them in the comment section and I will check them out. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.